Welcome to the Captain Jamtastic podcast with me, special guest Wayne. Wayne, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good. How are you, Jim?
I'm good, man. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Well, yeah, honestly, it's an honor. I'm a huge superstar. You should be freaking
The
out.
captain himself.
That's right. Captain Kangaroo is more like it. So I'm pretty excited to speak with Wayne because we have a lot of stuff in common outside of Tag Pro. We're also huge basketball fans.
True.
Yeah. And we're working on a super article. No pressure, Wayne, but we're working on a super article that we hope to release at some point. And we'll kind of
I'd
touch on it a
imagine,
little bit.
yeah, down the road somewhere.
Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
work on it then.
In 7 years when nobody plays anymore,
Yeah.
Wayne and I will still be good friends.
Yep.
So a quick question before we get like really into it. It's always been Wanye or Wayne? Is it,
Uh, at the very beginning, it was L Wayne, but that was like probably at least 5 years ago. And then, yeah, it's been a derivation of that at least.
I like it. I was never sure. I always thought because I saw it as Wanye and your name's always green because you like change it. And
Yeah.
I was like, wait, did he change his name or did I always just read it wrong? Oh, fun
Yeah.
stuff.
People tell me that quite a bit, like when they just come from pubs.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So we'll hit you with a fun question right off the bat. So this team, obviously, you guys are doing super well, 4-2-0-4.
I
Um,
wouldn't say super well. We're doing
I,
fine.
I think you're doing well. I think you're, in my opinion, you probably could have had like one or two more wins, but like I think you're in better shape than most people realize. And I think
Yeah, it's not really worrying at all.
yeah, I think Bam's kind of sleeping on you in the power rankings as well. I just did a pod with him, and I have you guys 2 spots higher.
Mhm.
Might have actually. I probably could bump you even into third over H Holden Gate Warriors.
Well,
But
they beat us, so that
yeah,
wouldn't be a
that's
reason,
why
I
I
don't
think
think.
I didn't. I hate to bring up bad memories. I'm so sorry.
We move forward from this.
So, how is this team? You won a Super last season with Holy Seahawks. So, how would you compare Center of Attention season 21 to Holy Seahawks season 20?
I think we have pretty good personnel like we did last season. It's kind of similar roles. Goober's in the Bright role. I mean, obviously, Bright is a pretty tough person to replace, but I think Goober does a pretty good job of it. Even though maybe, like, I don't know, he's not as controlled as Bright, because, I mean, who is? I'm kind of in the same role. Shara's kind of in the aardvark role, and though he's like not as mechanical, you can really trust him to make the right judgments like 99% of the time, which is super valuable to have. And he's also a good coach for us.
Yeah,
And now we have Horace, who's kind of like in the Pandora role, like the underappreciated defensive partner. So I think it's a similar archetype, but pretty good all around.
so, like, let's jump into that just for a second. And I hate like constantly bringing it up, especially if Shara listens a lot. And, and I feel like not really throwing Bright under, but Bright was under the impression he thinks, and he went on the record. This isn't like me airing dirty laundry. He thought maybe you should drop Shara. I didn't think it was super crazy based off his logic, but what would your
I'm
response to that be?
I'm very well aware of Bright's criticism of Shara. Uh, I think that it's nonsense. I think Shara makes the right decisions like 99% of the time,
Mhm.
like I said earlier. And he's currently in the ELTP finals with Hark as his offensive partner, who's on like 125 ping. So it's kind of a similar situation with Goober, I would say. I don't see why it can't be repeated.
Well, it would, yeah. I mean, I get when Bright explained his logic, it does make sense, but
You have to remember, Bright has also won a super with Deadman, so I feel like it's kind of flawed logic.
that's true. Yeah, I didn't. Hmm.
So take that, Bright.
Yeah, yeah, Bright. Well, you can't say he's a Euro hater now. I don't really know how to
Yeah, true.
respond.
Well, technically, they're not European now. They're UK.
Are they both
Technically, not
both
part of.
UK?
Yeah, they're
I
both.
didn't know anything. I don't know anything about Cher. I've never had a conversation with him, so
He's a very proper English banker.
I like that. I just realized I have a graphic up right now that still has yes, so I'm trying to replace that. So sorry, yes. He's probably watching this and going, "Oh, it could have been me."
Right.
um, or we'll just cut away from it. That makes more sense, and then try to get back to it in a second. So let's keep the fun questions rolling here, if you don't mind.
Of course.
I gotta find them. Gotta pull them up. I was too busy
Wait, you're
trying
not
to.
just asking these out of the top of your head?
Oh, I've been outed. Gosh dang it, Wayne. I knew this interview was going to be bad. Wayne gives me the pressure questions. So who do you have for All Stars this season?
How many All Stars are there? Do you know? I'm not really sure. Is it
I'm
like
not
five? Maybe?
100% positive, but it seemed like I feel like I've been asked questions like follow up questions to that, where people are like, "So what was the tag coin allocation?" I was like, "I don't know." But let's say 3 for each side. I think it should be
Okay.
4 because that makes more sense to me to actually have a game. So you can go up to 4 if you want.
Okay. For defense, I think obviously you've got Max.
Mhm.
Max has been having an insane season. Probably after him, Ty. Maybe myself after him and Curry somewhere in there. And then Ginny's also had a pretty good run as well. So he could be a dark horse for that.
Yeah, what I love about Curry, while we said his name, is he's hysterical to me because he flamed like everyone, which was the funniest
Yeah.
thing. But then when you ask him about himself, he's like, "Yeah, I mean, like I'm not that good." So it's like it's not like he thinks he's just better than everyone. He just doesn't think anybody's
Every
good.
everyone's everyone else is just worse. That's the philosophy you have to have. Nobody's good at this game in reality. We're all just
It's
a little bit
true.
better than each other.
And then on offense, who would you go with?
Bottom line's killing it right now with a ton of caps.
Yep.
I would say GGB is the hold leader. I think Goober absolutely should be in, like just based on merit and based on what he brings to a team. I hope that people can like recognize that
I've been
he's very talented. Yeah.
I've been championing him pretty much every podcast, every time I've talked. Mainly because like I'm a sport player and I recognize that stuff, and the games I've watched with you, I see the little stuff that he's doing.
Yeah.
I think it's incredible, and I think more people like he would
He
be.
definitely helps us like move forward as a team,
Yeah,
and he's willing to do the dirty work.
and yeah, if you're trying to get better at Tag Pro, you should watch what Goober's doing this season as an offensive player, because it helps the whole squad.
I feel like I've already said three, but I have to mention both Okay Then and Hat because they're both the driving forces behind their team, and they're both doing pretty well. Okay Then to a further extent, I would say.
Yeah,
But Mr. Hat's like definitely having a good season and probably isn't as recognized as he should be right now. So those would be my five.
that makes sense. Yeah, I think Hat's been pretty undercelebrated. I've watched a few of his games, and I would agree with
At
you.
least this season. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Most seasons he sucks. Let's say that he's
Yeah.
terrible. He's just.
I agree.
It's
Come
like.
with me, Mr. Hat, next week.
Oh man, I feel like Hat's gonna just be like, "I'm never talking to you again, Jam." And be like, "Yeah, well, fair enough."
Oh, you will.
Uh, but was it the cook, Wayne? That's the real question. That's an inside joke nobody's gonna get,
Yeah.
but whatever. Um, so okay, so as you know, I just told you been championing Goober this season. You're one of the players that I constantly say um, is very, very good. But it's kind of odd
Mm.
to me, like whenever I talk with other people saying name the best defensive players, your name doesn't come up. And when I mention it, people are like, "Oh yeah, of course, Wayne too." But like they never, it's not right off the top of the head. Do you feel a bit under celebrated by people not named Jam?
I do appreciate your celebration of me,
Hmm.
uh, but I don't really mind. I kind of like to fly under the radar a little bit because I know that I'm going to bring it pretty much every Sunday, and I'm going to be playing really well. So if they're not expecting it, then that's kind of their downfall, I guess.
I think that's what's so interesting about you though is like nobody doesn't expect you to be very good. It's almost like you're in a lose-lose situation because it's not like, "Oh, Wayne had a great game, what a surprise." It's like, "Oh, Wayne had a bad game." Pfft. But they never say, "Oh, Wayne had a great game. He was the reason they won." And it's just like, come on.
I I guess I just have a standard to live up to. I'm
Yeah,
fine with that.
yeah. I mean, like you do the dirty work, somebody else gets the stats, and then
Kind of like Uber.
exactly there you have it. Trying to think of. Oh, I wanted to give a shout out to two other players that I always celebrate when I talk about under-celebrated people. Somebody not even in majors, minors. Let's talk about Mike Dino. He's incredible.
Go for it.
I always give shout out to Mike Dino. And then the other one, we
This is
actually
my
made.
expansion pick. He's our backup offender. He's our
Oh,
sub.
is he? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great Great pick. Love him. Love him.
He was just
Um,
scrimming with us too.
oh yeah, he's a stud. And
Yeah.
then on the other end, we already mentioned him in this pod as well. Grumpy. Grumpy's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Great dude. Can't get enough
Love
of
that guy.
Grumpy. If I could marry Grumpy, I probably wouldn't, just because I happen to be into the ladies. But if I wasn't, I'd be all about Grumpy.
Good bromance, I would say.
Yeah, solid. Speaking of bromances, would you French Warriors?
I was wondering if you're gonna ask this. I don't know. I haven't seen Warriors, but based on his personality, I would say I'd be open to it.
For everybody
Balls in
listening,
your court, Warriors.
for everybody listening who's like, this has completely gone off the rails. Two reasons this occurred. One, this is my third podcast in a row, so I'm getting loopy. Two, this is probably more important. I jokingly wrote questions for Wayne. Like I was writing questions for everyone, and it was basically like, would you kiss everyone on his team? And then he was like, oh, you got to keep the would you French Warriors one. So we did it. Got weird. I hope you're all enjoying it as much
Kiss
as
them
I
all if we win it all.
am. So you're a lot like me. We said this at the top. NBA teams, all this stuff. And in the NBA, the 80s specifically, a little bit more in the 90s as well, like Bulls, Knicks, Celtics, Lakers in the 80s, even Celtics, Sixers, 80s, Bulls, Jazz, late 90s. Big rivalries. I feel like in Tag
Yeah.
Pro, it's a bit different. You could say like COA, Holy Seahawks seem to always have a rivalry, but it's more player versus player based. Goober Bright jumps out to me. Same with you and Bright. Are there any rivalries that you consider are in the game, or you specifically have with other players?
Kind of going off what you said, I would say pretty much anybody within our like centric group, like the people
Mhm.
who we all would play like late nights with, whether that be like Warriors, sometimes Goober, Bright, Crippy, like that kind of group, Matrix maybe. Those are all really fun matchups, and I look forward to all those matchups. Mr. Hat too. Mr.
Yeah,
Hat's gonna be a fun one. GG's always fun.
yeah. Playing with
Yeah,
GG is fun too.
yeah, kind of just players that I know and like and hang out with a lot. So it's always fun to have those sets of rivalries.
Um, in that respect too, like you mentioned the late night games. Do you miss the late night tourneys that used to come along? Because I do personally. I mean, I think TPM is awesome, but like sometimes I'm like, oh, it would have been fun to like have like a little tourney.
Yeah, to an extent, yeah. Uh,
That's a no.
well, no, like I would say that I miss like the late night pugs more than the late night tourneys. Like just
Oh, okay.
like getting a bunch of games in all together and like randomizing games just with the same group of people. I feel like that's probably more fun for me. But
Yeah,
also the late night tourneys, like the old CLTPs, I was obviously pretty fond of.
yeah. And are you big? I haven't done. I literally have not done one of those Thursday tourneys. People seem to really enjoy them though. Are you into that?
We do it sometimes together as a team. I believe we won the third one. The COA team won the third one, but it might have been the fourth one. But we're gonna sign up for it this Thursday too, I believe. So we're kind of into that. But sometimes I'm not able to make it, or like Cher's not able to make it. So I know that Goober does his Make a Wish team with Warriors and Bright. That's always fun to watch.
What is so the Make a Wish team to specify for everyone
Are
is?
you aware of this?
I'm aware of it. I just want everyone
Oh, okay.
who's listening not to think that we're reaching out to cancer kids and giving them a shot to play Tag Pro because they could do that on their own without that. It's more
Well,
like
yeah.
I believe it's Goober, Warriors, and Bright will take a player that's maybe like minors caliber or not at the top of the majors caliber and see if they can win the tournament with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's fun. I haven't really watched it, but the idea is fun and like being as a person who would probably be able to be on that team as the fourth ball, I would love that. So
Oh, I'm sure. You should ask them. They'll definitely put you in. I know that they just won with Dole last week, and I was pretty excited to see that because I'm a big fan of Dole.
the bananas or the player?
Yeah, Mr. Banana.
Okay. So we kind of covered it a little bit. Do you think COA is being slept on by other teams in the power rankings and commentary, etc.?
I think yes and no. I think that our record doesn't look really good right now, but I think that people definitely respect the talent we have on the roster. Um, I think that our losses to ABO hurt, and I think that it's kind of like mischaracterized because I don't want to give excuses, but I did miss like a fair amount of the Transilio game, and that's definitely our stronger map that week. I would definitely look forward to a rematch with them somewhere down the line.
And that rematch you said would be with
ABO.
pulling up the with ABO, the 7-6-8-5 loss in week 2, where you missed. I think like you missed the entire first half. Didn't you miss a little bit of the second half as well in Willow?
Yeah, a little bit of the second half as well.
Yeah, so that's on you, Wayne.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I really did let my team down there. But
yeah.
also, I'd like a rematch with Holden Gate down the line too. So hopefully we can get both of them.
Yeah, well, Holden Gate, I feel like you may have been caught off guard by them because that's when they had just kind of switched up their team. It was the second week with them. And were you? I think was that you had Horse at that point, or was that the Yes?
We did not have Horse.
Yeah,
that was
so
the game before Horse.
yeah, so they had their full roster, and now you guys have just acquired Horse, who's kind of made a difference in your team for sure, in my opinion.
I think so, at least initially, and I think the main thing with Horse is that he's going to continue to progress because he's very competitive, and that kind of matches the rest of us on our team.
Yeah, I would say I don't know about Shara, but I know Goober is pretty competitive. I know you are. And
well, Shara is gunning for his 5th European title this next Sunday, so he's pretty competitive as well.
We don't recognize the European title on this show. So.
That's why it's coming to an American one.
This is the second time I've flamed the Europeans. I'm really sorry. I actually have great respect because they're all better than me. So it's just a joke.
You're better than the Australians, though. So.
Yeah, I would have to say that I did see them scrimming, and I was like a little blown away that some of the decisions that were being made, but that was at the minors level. It wasn't at like their majors level. And the only two I know are Shandor and Rain, so I'm not afraid.
Well, Shandor's an animal. We all know that.
Well, yeah, Shandor's a beast. So you had Smoothie Ping last week, and I kind of wanted to ask you about them. They've had a kind of a rough season. I feel like they're better than their record. What are your thoughts on them?
Their offense was definitely tricky. Like rewatching it, they got away with more than they probably should have against us, and I'm not really surprised because both Sunchips and GG are both pretty good.
Yeah,
like GG can take over half sometimes.
And
their defense, I think, is a little bit more questionable though, and I'm not really sure what happened over there.
Yeah, I think it's just like individually, both Sevens and Pandora are awesome. I'm a bigger fan of Pandora's game. I think he's phenomenal. I just don't think they're blending as well as a top tier team needs to blend. And
well, I could be wrong, but I think they've officially made the switch to Fly. I think that they've dropped Sevens and are now rolling with Fly.
That's fine. I don't know that helps them as much as they think it will. I love Fly.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I love Fly. I don't know that that's such an upgrade over Sevens. But again, like Tag Pro, this is something I realized when covering extensively. It's all chemistry. So if the chemistry is higher, then that's a huge upgrade for them.
And I think it's worth noting that when they had Fly in last week, they took us to overtime, but they did not with Sevens after. So
they did take you to overtime, but it
yeah.
took like probably at least what I've been covering. I thought it was the cap of the season when you guys pretty much had it locked up, and then Panda just somehow.
It's more like the mistake of the season. That should never happen.
He just won't let him have it.
No, that was a great cap by Panda.
Yeah, it was awesome. I was super.
I've got to give respect to Panda.
It was easily the most excited I've been this season when announcing. So I was thrilled with that one. So let's see. Okay, yeah, we'll skip that one. We'll come back. Are you big on the GASP niche stats to define a player's success? I personally, after doing extensive coverage, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think not that there could be a better formula that comes out, but I think it's like a decent outline, but like there's ways to kind of cheat the stats or manipulate them to make it look like you're doing much better than you are.
For sure, yeah. I think that they're okay as like an outline, like you said, but I think you need to like just look at individual stats and kind of like draw your own conclusions from that. I know that there's a lot of stat talk today and like MLTP discussion. Like Fly made some arbitrary stat and people got up in arms.
Oh, what was the stat? I didn't know about this.
I think it just had to do with like non-drop pops, score, and something else. And like she put it all together and like had like good player, bad player. It
Oh,
was pretty
geez.
funny to watch the aftermath. Yeah.
I feel like
But
if you're gonna make a stat like that, you should make
she
it.
said that it was arbitrary though. It was kind of just a thought experiment, I think.
I would, for me though, I would make it noticeably biased so I looked good in every category I created.
I feel like I looked pretty good in that stat, so I was pretty happy with it.
You're like,
I like
yeah, I
how I was
support the
reflected in.
stat until next season when you
Uh,
look bad.
yeah, yeah. I think the niche is slightly better than Gasp, but obviously like per minute. One thing I would like to see us at least try is like I know that the European League and the Oceanic League both have their own like spreadsheet of stats, and I don't really know why we haven't like just input our stats into those sheets to come up with like because there's like probably 6 or 7 like individual like metrics that they have. So I think it'd
Oh
just be good to
yeah,
use theirs.
I would agree with that. I think somebody should get on that. And like, are you talking about Magic Pigeon does one that he
I think
released?
Magic Pigeon does it for ELTP, and if I'm not mistaken, I think Balakwa does it for Oceanic.
Yeah, I think we should definitely get more metrics in there because I don't feel Gasp and Niche are enough.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see another thing I'd like to see while we're talking about stats is I feel like there aren't a lot of team stats that get posted, or maybe I'm just not looking in the right place. But I'd like to see like a caps average, defensive caps given up,
Mhm.
stuff like that, because team stats are really important and they tell a big part of the story. Um, and I was talking about this with Bam. Like, I'd also like to see slightly bigger rosters, although I think most people would oppose that. But it's just for like stats sake to like make arguments like a certain lineup is better than another lineup because you can tell by the
Oh
plus
yeah.
minus things like that. I think
Hmm.
that stuff's really interesting and really cool, and it's kind of like part of the game that's missing. And I also think
Yeah.
like
I
so
know they're considering doing like crack LTP where they play like 3 times a week, and I think that would probably lead to a lot of different like like lineups for teams.
oh
And I think that
yeah,
would be a good setting to like try that out on.
yeah,
That seems like a cool idea.
I think that would be interesting. Although I think that's excessive, 3 times per week. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
I
Um,
don't know if I would play that.
I don't think so. I think I like if I were to agree to play that, it would be like I'm your bench guy who's on once a week,
Yeah.
and I expect to start. um, so I won't be playing because nobody will draft me. um, but I do like the idea of like, oh, okay, now we get a bigger look at the
Yeah.
rosters. And then I guess it might be good if like one player could play 2 games out of 3, something like that. Yeah, it's interesting. All ideas are interesting in theory. It's just the execution that's important.
Yeah.
We've seen plenty of leagues fail because they just aren't built well from the top of or bottom up, I guess.
You need a strong commissioner. That's what Fly is right now.
Oh, is Fly the commission? I thought it was Poet.
Well, Poet is a commish. I think Fly like kind of takes the lead on announcements and stuff. Yes is also a commish.
Oh wow, you guys cut a commish? What are you crazy?
Uh, yeah.
um. So okay, if you finish top 3, what's the team you think you get to select, and are you looking forward to that matchup? Top 3 or top 4, I guess.
um,
Because top 4, obviously you get whatever's left,
yeah, we just
or
get the
whoever's
last
left.
one. It depends on who would be in the bottom 4, I suppose. I think that anyone down there, I wouldn't be too afraid of. I think that we can win pretty much any game against any team in this league. So
Well,
it's
if
not
you were
really that
looking
big
at
of a deal.
the schedule right now, it looks like it would be you against Holden Gate in the first round, which would be an absolute banger of a
That
matchup.
would be yeah, that would be an interesting one,
Like,
and that would also open up the door for us playing Holden Gate and Blockwood again. So that would be interesting.
oh yeah, you get your wish. Be careful what you wish for, Wayne.
Yeah. Although I would like an easy path. That would be nice too.
Oh yeah, I love it. Like I've won. Let me humble brag here. I've won 2 championships. I'm a legend.
Unsurprising.
Uh, but the first one was just I wasn't even really good. It was Carp was playing B team, and he was just
Uh,
clearly at a minors level at that point, and He just dominated everyone, so it was like the easiest path to the finals. And I was like, "This is great!" It was so fun because like I didn't have to be good. There was no pressure. I was like, "He's awesome," you know. Like,
Sounds like playing with Bright. I don't know.
yeah, right, yeah, Bright,
Yeah.
pick me up. I'll come back. I'll come out of retirement for you. Yeah, I think like Holden Gate would be the toughest matchup, but if you when you look at the ledger, there's a lot of movement that could happen. Rectiles, Boats and Hold, 877, even Holden Gate, and you guys to an extent, if you don't get a win, and K-poppers, you
Mhm.
could all technically fall out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
There's nobody that's like,
It's extremely close right now.
yeah, there's nobody knocking at the door, so to speak, to take you down. It would take some help to get them into the playoffs.
I can
But
see Smoothie Ping getting some wins together, so
yeah, I could even
gotta keep
see
it safe.
Chennai.
Yeah, Chennai as well.
I heard that Bivy was dropped today.
He was very refined, I believe.
Yeah, for refine. So like that could be again the chemistry thing. That could be something that pushes them into
Hmm.
the last line, and they have a pretty decent schedule to close out too. So
Yeah,
um,
and nobody's safe right now, except for I think Blockwork and Thugs. I guess they're technically safe.
yeah, they'll make the playoffs no matter what. I mean, they could slip a little bit, but not too much. I don't believe.
Yeah.
Um, so they'll likely be 1 and 2, depending on what happens this week. Okay, so I've been saving this one because I really enjoy it. What are this season's NBA comparisons for teams?
For teams,
Yeah.
um, well, I obviously would compare our team to the Lakers. We've got two pretty good players in me and Goober. I think it's a bit akin to LeBron and Anthony Davis, so can toot our own horn a little bit there. That's
Which
kind of the
which one are
structure we're
you?
going for.
Which one are you? That's the key question here.
Um, I think I can give Goober the LeBron role. I've got the
Right.
Anthony Davis logo as my Discord picture,
Yep.
so
Yep.
I'm pretty happy with an AD comp. And I think AD is more of a defensive presence as well, so I'm happy with that comparison.
Yeah, 100% agree. At this point in his career,
Yeah,
LeBron is not as quick as he used to be. He's still ridiculous, but like
yeah.
certainly doesn't have to effort as much on defense.
Um, Let me think about this. Well, Curry's team's always the Warriors, regardless. He's gonna be Draymond. He's a Draymond who like that's just how I see him. Does the dirty work. Doesn't really get any stats, but everybody knows his impact's like pretty
Yeah.
irreplaceable. That's why he was looked at as like one of the top defenders, even
Hmm.
though like his stats are never like ungodly, like kind of like Max this season.
Right.
Um,
So ABO would be the Bucks then.
Maybe, yeah. I was kind of thinking that. I actually had a historical comparison for Max that you might appreciate. I think he's kind of a Patrick Ewing type. I know Max is pretty fond of that comparison because he's also a Knicks fan like you.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm a
Yeah,
big Ewing fan. Get well soon, Patrick. By the way, he has corona, so hopefully he recovers quickly.
sir. I
Um,
think he's been released from the hospital, thankfully.
yeah, he's at home now. I texted his son. We're good friends. That's that's not true. I just read it online. Um, but yeah, I would agree with you. I think that's a pretty apt comparison. I do hope he has slightly more success, like finishes a layup in 1994, so they get a championship.
Hmm.
So,
Well, I hope he doesn't win a championship this season. So get
well,
denied, Max.
we'll agree to disagree. What about ranked thugs?
I think Thugs is an interesting one. I don't know who I would compare OK then to. I kind of thought of him as LeBron-esque, although not quite as like overall talented. He's a pretty cerebral player, like
Mhm.
in that sense. I would say. I'm not really sure what team I'd compare him to though.
You know, I got a fun one. If we're doing historical, maybe
Sure.
the Derrick Rose prime Bulls era.
Yeah, possibly. I'm not sure he has like the hops Derrick Rose does, but he can. He definitely has the aura buff Derrick Rose does. In
Yeah,
his words.
there it is.
Uh, Another one that I always like to bring up when we're talking about NBA comparisons. It's probably my favorite. I like to compare GGB to Trey Young. He's just an offensive powerhouse, but he's a young buck. That might be one of my favorites.
I really hope GGB has the same haircut.
I think he does.
Oh, that's actually a really good comparison because, yeah,
I can't take credit for it. I think somebody else came up with it, but I really just enjoy that one.
yeah, it's just like instant offense. Um, Not necessarily not a lot of defense, but like definitely not as gifted on the defensive side.
Gets some young energy and hypes the people up.
Yeah, is there any other player comparisons that jump out at you?
Um, no, not that I can think of off the top of my head.
What about
Maybe like the
Bamboozler?
rookies.
That's a good one.
I honestly tried to think of one for Bamboozler, and I couldn't come up with one off the top of my head. I actually put thought into it, and I didn't really know how to describe him. He's kind of one of a kind.
That makes sense. I thought for Rectiles, Doris would have been Jimmy Butler to me.
That's a
Um,
good one. I actually like that one.
yeah, but then
Although he might be a little bit better than Jimmy Butler. Might not be giving him enough credit. It's tough to do one for once.
yeah, but I feel like Jimmy Butler is like a little underrated at times and a little overrated at times. Not saying that about Doris, but
I can say that about Doris. He's a little overrated, but overrated. I love playing Doris.
Oh, now I'm just trying to think of one for Bam off the top of my head, and
I
you're
know
right.
it's a tough
It's
one.
very tricky. Maybe Sean Marion.
Maybe. I don't know. Kind
Yeah.
of like a Tony Parker presence sometimes. I can see that.
Is there like a Steve Nashian player, i.e., somebody who creates for their teammates and like motivates them? Maybe
Bill
BD.
Caden's actually a pretty good one for that.
You
Maybe
think?
BDL.
Yeah, I was gonna say BDL or Ball Don't Lie.
Ball don't lie, not
Yeah,
BDL.
yeah. I thought they were two different players. Yeah, I kind of thought that for Ball Don't Lie after our conversation. I was like, oh, he's really always trying to help his team. So I
Yeah,
thought,
ball don't lie is similar to that.
yeah, yeah. I don't know that I got anything else for you, buddy.
If you think of anything, let me know.
Well, we could go. Let's take a gander. We got the schedule. The schedule was, yeah. We already talked about this for the most part. But if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind going team by team because you've had a pretty good schedule.
Sure, yeah.
So you
Sounds
played
good.
877 caps now, and they've kind of changed since you play them. They
Mhm.
picked up Pro Tag instead of Glob, but like, what's your impression of that team?
I think that they're really good mechanically. I think Ginny's like one to watch for sure. We were pretty fortunate to catch them early in the season because I know they had a couple like position switches. I know Ginny was switching, and Spjork like isn't a full time defender, so it was good to catch them in that first week.
Sure.
But I'd be confident against them like this week too, if that was the case. Also, Protag I think is an upgrade from Glob.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I would say they're my new dark horse pick. It was Rectiles before, but and I told Bam I was like, I just feel like whatever team they play, the best case scenario is they're going to be they're gonna or their worst case scenario I should say is they'll lose in three. I just feel like
Yeah,
they match up really well with just about everyone.
yeah, they're going to be competitive for sure. I
Yeah.
would be surprised to see them not make playoffs.
And you didn't see this team week two, Blockwork Orange. You didn't see them as much, but they've been kind of rolling the league. But it was pointed out
Mm-hmm.
to me by Curry rather emphatically that they've played nobody. So, um, what are your thoughts on a Blockwork?
I think that they can definitely be taken advantage of, but as of right now, they probably have the best cohesion out of any team in the league. They practice a lot. We've got 2 scrims set up with them this week already, one
Oh
for
wow.
tomorrow and then one on Sunday. So they're always ready to scrim. So that's always a dangerous team when you're playing that much.
Yeah, the flip side of that is potential burnout. But if everyone's still having
Yeah,
fun, then
I think that team is a pretty friendly team and they all get along. So I'd be surprised if they were like getting burned out.
yeah. And I've put them at the top for a while now. I think they're really good despite like their schedule. It's kind of like a college team, a lower end college team in Division One football, who is just really really good. Think like the '90s era of Miami University,
Yeah,
and they just don't
Florida
have
State.
the player or the schedule to play against good teams. But it doesn't mean they're bad. Like they're awesome, like
Yeah,
so.
I can see that. But who else have they played? They play Ranked Bugs this week, so that'll be fun to watch. I'm
That'll be their
definitely gonna
best
tune into that
game.
one. Yeah.
You were the top team they had played. Other than that, they played the bottom four teams.
Yeah. Oh, really? They played all 4 of the bottom ones.
Yeah, they played.
Are we the only playoff team that they played?
Yes, which is why
Interesting.
I think
Okay.
this
Didn't
week is
know
going to be like really telling for them, and
that.
also the rest of the league to say, oh, okay, they're legit. Uh,
Yeah.
but
Well, they're definitely preparing for it. They're scrimming us twice and probably scrimming other people too.
sure. So we talked about where you brought up Rank Thugs. I wasn't going to talk about them because they weren't on the schedule, but
Mm-hmm.
did they? I feel like they lost some of their shine the past. week because of the loss to Holden Gate. But it seems like at the beginning of the season everybody thought they were almost invincible, but they've had quite a few
Hmm.
close matches, and it just doesn't seem like they're as scary as people anticipated originally. Still scary though
I think
because Grumpy's on the team.
like yeah, yeah, Grumpy's a fearmonger. Um, yeah, I think that they're really well built, just top to bottom. They don't really have any like holes in their offense. I guess you could like point to Popa, but even Popa is an amazing spark plug, so he's valuable
Yeah,
to any team in this league. So it's hard to say that they really have a weakness to pick on, but I still think of them as a top team in the league.
yeah,
Uh,
I personally do too. It's just once this league is so fickle because
yeah,
it's
exactly. It really
such a
is.
short season that one week where you lose two in a row, and I
You
did it
lose,
too. The power rankings, you drop 5
yeah.
spots, something crazy like that. So
In this league, you can lose like 4 tag pros on the game, and then the narrative completely flips, like
right,
because you have so much time in between games, especially with a 2 week break right now.
right. You played Chennai Super Pings. We just talked about how they made the move with CVivi, but they played you close one game, and you kind of beat them a bit better on Rush. You struggled on
Yeah.
Willow, but you also lost on Willow the previous week, so maybe that's just not a great map for y'all. What are your thoughts on
Uh,
Chennai?
First, I'd say that Willow probably has been our weakest map thus far.
Hmm.
We haven't played on it with Horse yet, so maybe it would look a little bit different with Horse. I'm not really sure.
But a prime candidate
But
to be banned.
yeah, I
Yeah,
would say as of right now, without more practice, that would probably be our ban map.
yeah.
But obviously, we're gonna try and work on that so we don't have to ban something and we can be more strategic with that.
Hmm.
But moving to Chennai, I know that Waterwheel's been making a lot of moves. It kind of looks different now without Protag or CBivy. I thought they were both pretty solid when we played them, especially Protag. He like will do some questionable things, but then he'll make some crazy plays to make up for it.
Yeah,
Uh,
but Selfie's a pretty fun upgrade, I would say.
yeah, Selfie. I'm not sure if I call him an upgrade, but he's probably a lateral move
I
in
try.
a different way. Maybe it is better for intersense. Like we've talked about, like chemistry is pretty important.
Right. I always try to say the nicest thing. So no disrespect to Protag, but
Yeah.
quite an upgrade. Yeah. So
Max
there,
did tell you to flame Protag, so
he did. He did. He told me to yell "Protag sucks" every, which
you essentially just did yell that. So
no, because I already put over 877. I said they're really good. So.
okay, okay.
But I mean, let's be honest, Protag sucks. So, sorry, Protag. Protag's like, I've literally never even met this guy. What the
Who's
hell?
Jam?
um, but yeah, Chennai is an interesting one because despite because of their schedule, they are the most likely right now, in my opinion, to potentially sneak in to the back.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep an eye. I think that's one team that people should be keeping an eye on this week. Then you played Holden Gate, and you got swept, and that was like their new
Mm.
roster as we discussed. And you said you're anxious to get a rematch against them.
Yeah, I think that we did not play as well as we could have there. We made a ton of mistakes, and we were still pretty close. I think in the second game, we just kind of
Yeah, 6-5.
we need to take we need to be able to like carry energy over better. Although I think that we won the last half, but just lost by 1 at the end.
So you did. I will note this. The open maps, two of them, Willow and Rush, I feel like are kind of open in comparison to like uh, the other maps, and
Mm-hmm.
your team's kind of struggling on those ones. You did win on Rush 7-3 against Chennai, but another lost 7-3 to Holden Gate.
Yeah.
Is there like a strategy that you need to implement, or is it just something like the more you play together, the better off it's going to be?
I think the more we play together, the better off it's going to be for sure.
Yeah,
Especially now that we have Horse, who is very active in like playing TPM all the time, playing minors all the time,
yeah,
playing European TPM all the time. He's always on. I feel like I've been playing the least out of anyone on my team, which is a good thing because when I start playing a lot, then I'm just going to become obsessive about it.
right. Yeah, and I mean, like in fairness, if Horse keeps playing so much tag pro, he's probably going to turn into a tag pro. So
Yeah.
he needs to be
And if he's
careful.
always a tag pro, then that's going to be helpful for us down the road.
Well, that's true. Yeah, maybe he'll be a
Yeah.
rolling bomb though, which will be interesting.
But yeah, we can still use that strategically.
And then Smoothie Ping, we already talked about because you beat him last week. But your upcoming schedule is actually more interesting because both these teams, Boats and Holds, has a high potential, especially if you sweep them to slip out of the playoff picture. And Red Hot Chili Peppers looked like they were down and out, but they came up and just punched K-poppers in the mouth last week. They beat them and then took them to OT before losing. So,
Hmm.
what are your thoughts on those
Yeah.
squads?
First one would be Bolton Hills.
Yep.
Like I said earlier, Hat's probably like an MVP in this league, or at
Yep.
least a candidate. Even though he probably won't win it, he should be mentioned in the
Oh, I
discussion
see.
because he
I see
does
the
deserve a ton.
strategy now. You butter up Hat so he has like a so-so game against you, and
I don't need to butter him up. No, I'm just kidding. He's a really good player.
yeah, he's
I think it's
ridiculous.
going to be a fun matchup. It's also going to be fun to play against Ukilum because that was my first majors partner on offense. So it'd be fun to get a little reunion with him.
Yeah, Ukulum
Um,
has some crazy jukes.
yeah, he's been heating up a little bit recently, so I look forward to seeing him again.
Yeah.
Hopefully our offense can produce though, because I think that's going to be the key to that game.
Yeah, CC and Griff have just not been 100% on the same page this season so far. So, I'm always
I
rooting
know
for
they're
them.
both good players, so definitely can't take them lightly.
Oh yeah, I mean, if they, I've been waiting all season. If it just clicks for them, this team changes from like a middle of the pack team to a team that's probably a top 3 team. So
Yeah, they definitely have potential, and they've got Hat with the star power too, so could be a fight for sure.
yeah, and then RHCP, they've been struggling just because of roster issues
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot with Dodds Fall.
Yeah.
So is there like a fear? Does anyone? What's the general consensus, at least in the communities that you're rolling in about Red Hot?
Um, I don't think anyone sees them really as a huge threat, but like you can't just sleep on them going into a game
Yeah,
because Tanchu's like he's a solid player. You can't sleep on him completely,
yeah,
and he's a good leader as well. I think he's actually an underrated teammate, and look forward to hearing the Tantru podcast if you get that one set up.
yeah. I
I'm sure that one
gotta
would be an entertaining one.
I gotta reach out to him. So I'll apologize to Tantru on the air here because he's reached out to me a few times to be like, when are we doing this? And like my schedule, my
Denying him.
yeah, my work's kind of crazy, and then there's other people I talk to ahead of time. So I'm just trying to get everyone in before the weekends. But he is making the effort. So if it ends up not coming to fruition, that's on Jam, not on Tantru.
I see. Yeah, I look forward to listening to that one because he has a lot to say, and
Yeah,
he's actually a pretty bright dude.
yeah, he's going to be known as the intellectual in the channel, or the stoic intellectual. That could work as well.
Yeah. I know
Um,
that they're also making a push to get Cynical, so that would be an interesting matchup as well. Because I know that Goober has
oh,
some hard feelings for both Cynical and Tantru from last season. So hopefully he
oh,
can run
really?
wild
What
on him.
is? I didn't know he had him for Tantru. I mean, I knew about Cynical. I think that was not exactly kept in the
Oh,
locker
there's been
room.
some top 5 FC talk and some who's really the driving force behind that. I think there's a disagreement between the two. So I know that Goober is gonna look forward to that one.
Oh, that's gonna be great. Yeah, now I definitely hope they get cynical. But well, I mean, we've been on for 40 minutes, but like, if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind asking you about both cynical and Ishii. That Ball or Nothing team was projected to be pretty decent just based off their defense, but I don't think anybody really anticipated that both of them would have been cut by season's end. Um,
I'm not entirely shocked if I'm being honest.
oh, okay.
Just considering both of them, I feel like the odds were more likely that they would have been a good defense as opposed to it completely collapsing. But it was definitely like a non-zero chance of that happening in my eyes, at least before the season.
And
They're
it's
both
kind of
a little bit. They're
it's
both really talented, but also kind of flaky. I would say.
yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like I've heard since I've been in Tag Pro that Cynical is one of the top tier players, but the 2 seasons I've covered extensively, his teams have been right at the bottom, scraping the
I,
playoffs.
it may be because you caught them right after they ended the or right after they went to the All
Oh,
Dallas
the
League. And I
Dallas
know he's
League.
got a lot of issues on Dallas. He's
Yeah,
says he's
well,
a shell of himself on Dallas.
yeah, his name is Ping Prisoner for a reason, for sure.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and that's something that's oh man, you just keep kind of segueing into good questions. So are you pro the All Dallas League, or would you like to see a return to more server based matchups?
I would say I'm pro Dallas League, mostly because you can like form teams with people that you wouldn't normally otherwise like be able to form teams with. Like, there's no way I'd ever be on a team with Shara in a
Yeah,
non-Dallas league.
yeah.
And obviously, it's beneficial to me because I have like pretty solid Dallas ping, and I like that advantage. So I'll be honest.
Yeah, I feel like for me, it's kind of the other way. I wouldn't mind seeing, I don't know if the player base is extensive enough to make this happen, but I wouldn't
Hmm.
mind splitting the league. And I know, like, let me finish before you poo-poo it because I know everybody hates this idea. Um, I wouldn't mind splitting the league in that there's a West Coast and East Coast version, kind of like there's the Premier League and then the La Liga. Like they're two different
Hmm.
things. And then like every other season you also have like kind of a merged league or like a merged cup type thing, and that all takes place at Dallas, or Dallas/Chicago, because I do think it's a bit unfair that everything goes to Dallas. Like,
I think it's more unfair for the people who are like northern as opposed to the
right.
east and west. I would say it's probably like least fair to like the Canadians as opposed to like the people who are like living in like New York.
See, I
Uh,
disagree. I think New York, it's pretty unfair to New York because I like that would be like me playing on Chicago and everyone's like that's wildly unfair. I'm based in LA, so
Bright's based in Washington. I think it's pretty similar distance, New York and Washington to Dallas. So you can do it. I think if you get anything under 70 ping, I don't think there's really much of an excuse.
that's true. Um,
And I think that most Eastern players probably get around that. But as for the Canadians, I think some of them do get over that. So it's a bit unfortunate for them.
Yeah, and it's been like an interesting debate. I think like Dallas has kind of been settled on, but I know NLTP at least 2 seasons ago. I don't know if they're still doing it, but they were still doing region-based servers. And I know some people preferred to play in NLTP because of that. And to be fair, like if you were to look at my numbers, for example, like when I'm playing on LA or San Francisco or even Seattle, my numbers are just infinitely better than when I'm playing on
Interesting.
Dallas. Maybe because I'm a hack. I don't
It's
know.
a ping player
Yeah, I just do the opposite. Instead of spear balling people, I central ball people.
Well, that happened to us, at least me and Warriors, quite a few times because he was in the middle of the country for most of our playoff runs. And then we would always run into a center team when he would be on like probably 75, 80 ping and just
Yeah,
probably wasn't at the strength of his powers, I would say.
yeah. That was well. It's also known as the no disrespect to Fender. He's a tag pro friend of mine, but people would always accuse Fender of spear balling because he would sign up as a centric captain and then draft all spear players.
Yeah.
So he was just taking advantage of the rules, so to speak, which is a great move. I mean, if you're mad at it, just you should do it as
I've
well.
once done that drafting a minors team. I drafted, I think, an all Dallas minors team,
Yeah,
and it ended up being pretty good. That was Ginny and MacG, man. I think I drafted both of them.
yeah,
They produced a good season there.
yeah. I mean, like it would be nice if it was more like they kind of opened a studio out here. I forget what it's for. It's for Riot Games, so probably League of Legends. But like everybody sits in the same building, and you
Yeah, like
truly get
a
to find
LAN
out
would
who
be
the
super
best is.
interesting.
Yeah, so I mean that would be great, but realistically, it's not going to
Yeah,
happen unless Tag Pro suddenly catches fire,
yeah, yeah.
like just blows up, or some millionaire decides they need to invest in Tag Pro.
What I would like to see is probably like a Denver, maybe a Kansas City server, somewhere more centralized, so it's not quite as south.
Yeah,
Maybe that makes it a little bit better, but it's kind of a problem without a clear solution, I would say.
yeah. Denver, I think Denver would be really good, but then you'd have to make Bright move to Mexico. Yes, he'd just be
Maybe
so.
Puerto Rico. I don't know. Yeah, put them on an island somewhere.
But yeah, I think that would be pretty fun, and I'd actually like to see two more servers that were almost equidistant, so that when you jump, it's only like 10 ping more, so you
Yeah.
can have those East Coast West Coast battles.
Hmm.
I think it would be really beneficial to the game. I know you're listening to every podcast I do, Lucky Spammer, so let's get on this. Let's start a petition here. Um, but yeah, it would be pretty neat to have a more balanced server game and
Yeah,
kind of not to take the excuse quote unquote away, but like it's just more fun when the game is
just make it more fair. Yeah,
competitive and
that's one of
equal.
the that's one of the beauties about Tag Pro. It's like everybody has the same capabilities. It's just about the thought process.
Yeah, and all right, you've been my longest podcast because we're good friends, clearly. So we'll wrap it up with this question: how do you like the parity in the league this year in comparison to other years?
Well, I enjoyed being the top team last year, so I I would say I would I like the parity this year though. It's pretty competitive, and I think that it would. I think that there's a number of teams that could end up winning it all this season because it's pretty close.
Yeah,
And like Curry said, ABO hasn't played anybody except for us without me for some of it.
yeah. Oh, nice, nice asterisk.
Yeah, you can quantify even those ones for them.
I would say like from a viewing perspective, it's definitely more entertaining because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
Previous seasons, it does seem a bit top heavy, and it's part of my issue with Tag Bro. It's not that teams are top heavy. It's just after the draft ends, sometimes I just look at the roster and I'm like, what? Like, how did this happen? like,
I mean sometimes you'll see that in tournaments too, where just a handful of captains mess up and then there's a clear, obvious team. But I'm not
yeah,
really sure that happened this season, thankfully.
no, I don't think it did, but like, I would like a, or not like, I mean, like, I don't really have a solution.
It's
So
hard to prevent all of the captains from being dumb in the draft.
yes. And also, like, it's kind of difficult too because if you don't make good moves, like Curry somehow has done it for 2 seasons in a row where he made the right roster changes. That
Curry's definitely, I would say he's one of the best like roster management guys and like scouts,
yeah,
probably in MLTP history,
I'd actually
even though
like
it's
to
not a long
see
history.
an ongoing or like a franchise version, just because I think Curry would be rewarded for how he's able to
Yeah,
get the right
I've
players.
I've also like voiced my opinions on that before
Yeah.
because I like carrying over players too because I really like watching like lower level players and like trying to like build them up to become like majors tier players,
Oh, I
and so I think that
100%
would be
agree.
beneficial. Yeah,
I mean, like there is instances when like say I'll just take you guys. So it's you and Shara, and for whatever
yeah.
reason, this is obviously a fake situation for anyone. For whatever reason, you're tuning in at the 52nd minute here. You're just like, oh,
Sorry about that.
here's some flame. This is a fake situation. Um, so
I've
Wayne
already
and
flamed
Shara
Shara
don't get
enough.
along, and it's say it's Shara's team. Like Wayne's clearly, you would say like, oh, he's the second best player, so to speak, or one of their top guys. But Wayne's like, listen, I don't want to play with them. Like you're not going to be forced to stay there, but it would be nice if like center of attention carries on regardless, and they're able to. I just don't know how that works for player transferring in regards to like keeping players. Like that's the trickiest part.
Like from a season to season, you mean?
Yeah, like if you're trying to do a
Okay.
keeper league, and it's kind of like the NBA, like where
Yeah,
you would keep your stars and then try to rotate to find like the best value for your role players.
yeah,
Um, and I think that would be the best league to watch personally. But I just don't know how you do that, especially when it's not like you're not getting paid to do anything. It's just like,
yeah. Exactly. The lack of a contract makes any of that like
yeah,
hard to do from a season to season basis, and because we're all pretty much volunteering our time,
yeah.
like
But I
it's
will say,
tough.
like,
Although it would be really cool, I agree.
yeah, I think it would be great, and if somebody could figure that out, it would be awesome. I do think that the trickier part of that is sometimes you're on a team and you play with them and you're just like, yeah, I really don't like this team. And basically like this happens mainly at the B team level now, I would say, where somebody who is at least an A teamer is down there. Um, it's just not a fun experience at all. And to me,
Yeah.
that makes it feel like it kind of pushes the player away from wanting to return because
Hmm.
why am I going to come back if my best case scenario is to play on a B team and it's like really frustrating.
Yeah.
No disrespect to B teamers, like I was a B teamer, strong and
I
proud.
think that the one thing that this season that I really liked is the fact that any major team can pick up any minors player, like they have the option to, and so it kind of doesn't allow for like somebody who might be majors quality to be stuck behind like a really good majors team, like if they're connected that way.
Yeah,
So like if
so
you have a gap, you can pick up anybody in minors. So
yeah,
like just lots more opportunity.
I might invite you because I'm trying to plan another podcast where I discuss exactly something like this, and it's just the player movement and how it affects the leagues. Because like right now, for example, there's been I think at least 5 players who've dropped down to minors.
Yeah.
And now you have these dual eligible players, and to me, I'm just like, yeah, I get the dual eligible thing. You don't want to hose one team, but at the
Hmm.
same time, I'm just like, it's kind of lame. At the same time, like I'd like to see somebody else get a try go
Yeah,
up to
because you know that
minors.
somebody's losing their spot somewhere down the line.
Right, exactly. And I don't know, the dual eligible player thing, like I'm like, and what other like not that this is a real sport, like, oh Jam,
Hmm.
this is not real, get over it. That's that's everyone. but
Yeah.
but my thing is like, okay, cool, we lost, I'll just go historical. We lost Charles Barkley. We really need to pick somebody up. Oh great, we got you know, Julius Irving. Well, good thing he can play for both the Sixers and the Suns. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, I guess Barkley was the worst possible comparison there because he also played for the Sixers.
That's true. Yeah.
All right, man. I've kept you on way too long. Thank you for humoring me. I do appreciate it.
No, for sure. I enjoyed every minute of it.
Oh,
Be happy
great.
to join you on the other podcast too if you
Yeah,
want to.
I would really love that. But yeah, thanks to everyone for watching. Sorry this one was the longest one. Well, I'm not sorry because it was freaking awesome. I had Wayne. It was great. But yeah, thanks for watching, everyone.
Yep, thank you.